Hey guys, Kev here, and the time has come for my full review on the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. So, if you guys have been following along the channel, you'll know I've had 5 of these now, I think. I originally ordered 3 on accident. I was just trying to order one gold and black PVD hand satin Bowie, and I ended up ordering 1 Bowie and 2 drop points in the black and gold. Well, I'm glad I did, because it turned out I actually liked the drop point better. I like the looks of it, I think, just as much, but you can reverse flick the drop point much easier, and I'll get to that later. But so I sold the Bowie right away to my buddy Brent, Backpack B. Shout out to Brent. And after I did that, I wanted a blue Marvel one, so I bought this one right here, which is a drop point with the blue Marvel and plain titanium. So it's, I think it's dark matter. It's just blue dark matter. I don't know why it's called blue Marvel. Some people call it, I don't know. But anyway, it just looks like dark matter, the blue version. And I got that new, actually. So the 3 I accidentally got, I got from Arizona Custom Knives when they dropped. I don't usually shop there, but it was a drop and they had them, right? And I just was ready. I knew about it. So I got those there. And then I actually canceled one of the drop points. That's why I only ended up getting 1 drop point and 1 Bowie. I was able to contact them and be like, hey, could you just send me 1 drop point? I kind of wish I hadn't, because I'll get to that in a second. But so I got those 2, sold the Bowie. Then I got this. So that's 4 technically I've paid for and owned, but I really only got 3. Then my drop point with the gold had some issues. Well, it really just had one issue. The nub on the detent nub was not seating into the blade all the way. So I contacted Brian Nadeau, and he said, send it on in. I sent it over to him, and he said normally he would have replaced it, but because of what's going on with his pre-orders, where he didn't have a website, it's like a whole mess. He had people sending checks and stuff, and he wasn't sure what he'd have left over, so he couldn't just replace it, you know what I mean? Which kind of sucked. But he what he ended up doing was bending the lock bar in a little bit to strengthen that, and that made it drop into the hole. And he said now it's, snappy. And I got it back, and what I was concerned about is what happened. It was too snappy. Like, the lock bar pressure was just a little too strong. It was actually kind of uncomfortable here to disengage. And even I can tell a difference between these two, and they're very, very similar. This one's still a little bit stronger than this one is. That lock bar strength makes a difference. And it just kind of bugged me. It was snappier on the deployment, but it didn't drop shut nearly as much. You see how this is almost gliding shut. Also, you couldn't do any of the cool kid tricks. Like, you couldn't do this guy right here because it was just too stiff, right? And the cool thing about his designs are he uses that detent nub, so you get a clean pop on the brake. And even with a lightish detent, you can get a really crisp deployment. So you don't need that really stiff lock bar tension. So it was just kind of, so you lose the drop shut. It was just kind of disappointing. I got it back, and I was like, it's fine. Like, as a knife, it's definitely good. It's a good knife. Like, I wasn't like, he messed it up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. It just wasn't for me. So I sold that to a guy on Instagram that I chat with regularly, Paul Windmiller, and I made it clear it has stiffer lock bar tension. I think it's a little too stiff for me, but he's like, I like a snappy detent, so great. I sold it to him. And then I actually found another one on the secondary on Facebook, and that's how I got this one. And this one is pretty much perfect for me, and that's how we got here. So, long story, You know, almost 5 minutes there, guys. Sorry. Drinking some Pure Leaf here. And I guess we can get into it, right? I do have skiffs in both of these. You can fit the 3/16 size skiffs into a mini Tempest, guys. But I highly recommend the 5mm. They just seem to, they're not as tight around the pivot, and I get better action with them. I don't have pivot lash. I don't have any issues with the bearing being a little bit bigger than the pivot. I think it fits perfect. So I recommend the 5mm. But that's up to you, right? You could get the 3/16. And if you ask, they might probably tell you that is the size. But again, I'd recommend the 5mm. Okay. So getting into the review, guys, the aesthetics on this knife are absolutely just incredible. I think this might be the sexiest knife. You know, I go back and forth between something like, you know, the mini Tempest, and, you know, something like the Evo 2.0, which is just a mean mother. You know what I mean? Like, that's a mean knife, but it's sexy, you know? So it's hard for me to, say. Of course, there's always the Devo Knives Stout right here. This is my prototype of a knife I helped design with Colin over at Devo CM Knife Designs. I wouldn't say we designed it to be the sexiest knife ever. It's more of a worker knife user, but it is sexy. You know what I mean? At least to me, it is. But there's no doubt the mini Tempest is sexier. It just has such clean lines, guys. The way he designed this handle, the way this drop point just is so gorgeous. And the clip point, in some people's perspective, the Bowie is more sexy. So I love the pivot design. Let me put away the Evo here. Definitely a sexy knife, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know which one's sexier. Obviously, I've had a lot of these, so I really like the knife. You know what I mean? I love that he used fat carbon materials. Just absolutely gorgeous. The chamfering on every edge, every corner, just everything is so knocked down. And guys, that's where you get the price tag. You know what I mean? These with the fat carbons were $425. You know what I mean? And that's going to be the difference between something like that and my knife here, the Stout. You know, you're going to pay $275 for this one, roughly. I think we nailed down pricing today. I think the ones with the copper carbon fiber are going to be $279, and the ones with my card are going to be $269 on pre-order. But you could see, like, these edges are very well done. They chamfered these edges very, very well. But you could see a next level sort of finish. These are contoured. This is flat. Still absolutely excellently done. Fit and finish on point. But you can kind of see where your money's going a little bit, right? That extra, you know, $150 is going into all that fit and finish. Now, is it a $150? Is it worth more than $150 more than this knife? I know that's up to you, right? To me, I see the extra value in this. You know what I mean? I love this knife. Obviously, I designed it, and I want people to buy this for the $270. And for that price, I think you're getting an absolute steal. Of course, I'm going to say that, but, you know, you got to take my word for it. But that takes nothing away from this. Like, I did not hesitate to spend that money on this. So that can tell you something right there. You also have a hand satin on this, contoured scales, and fat carbon. You know what I mean? There's a difference. You have a hand-rubbed freaking clip. You know, so that's a lot of hand work. That's going to add time to it. And you have a more established maker. You know, he can probably charge a little more for his knives. You know, we're a first-time company. You know, we're not trying to gouge. Not saying he is. I'm just saying we're not trying to, because we want people to be enticed to buy our knives. Anyway, that's enough about that. Sorry. It's going to be hard for me not to bring it up. But yeah. By the way, the pre-order for the Devo Knives Stout is going to be April 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'll be saying that probably in every video now, just so you guys are up to date and you know when it's coming. We're going to have stonewashed and blackwashed versions, black micarta and this copper stuff. So 4 total versions. No satin, unfortunately, for the first run. It will be a hollow grind. Anyway, this black one is, dude, this black one, I can't figure out which one I think is sexier. That's why I still have both. And I had to get this black one back, and it was just they're just in their own way so gorgeous. I love the blue accents. I really wish this just had a little more of that blue. I know everybody says that. You can see a little more of it on this side. If that had just a little more all over, it'd be even better. I love the pivot design. The front flipper is just excellent. Yeah, just needless to say, the aesthetics are fan-freaking-tastic. Now, let's get into ergonomics, guys. This is hands down one of the most comfortable knives I've ever handled. No joke. The width of this handle, the contouring, just the way he designed this knife for my hand, large glove size hand, is literally perfect. Like, it fits my hand like an absolute glove. I don't know if I've felt a more comfortable knife. Like, yes, I love a knife like the Stout that has a choil. This is supremely comfortable. And honestly, the fact that it's not contoured doesn't play a part, really. It's super comfortable even with that because of the edges and everything. But there's still just something about this knife. Now, you're losing the ability to choke up. Like, I guess you could, actually. I've never really done it, but you could just choke up like this. You're losing that on the Mini Tempest. But, like, I'm just trying to make the point here that even a knife I designed for myself to be super comfortable is not as ergonomic as this. There's just something about this knife, guys. Yeah, it's freaking incredible. It's one of, if not the most ergonomic knife I've ever handled. Your finger lands perfect, or your thumb lands perfectly up here, and you actually have enough jimping to use. Like, I hate that. So many knives that have jimping, like, let me just try to get an example here. Do I have anything with jimp? I'm not a big jimping guy. So here's one I have it on loan. The Cheburkov Urbis. And you see, like, my thumb just kind of lands right here. Where's the jimping? It's back there. Like, I'm not holding the knife like this. I'm holding the knife like this. Or I'm choking up and doing this, right? So I need some jimping up in this area. It just happens all the time. Like, this one, I guess that jimping's more for something else. Let me see. Here's a knife that I absolutely love. And again, done right. Liang Mott. See, these guys know what they're doing. Putting that jimping up there is just, you're going to actually land on it. If you're going to do jimping, do it right. You know what I'm saying? So, great job with and the jimping is good. Like, it actually feels really good in hand. So yeah, ergonomics is a home run on this knife. Again, you could choke up, just never really even thought to do it. I've always held it back here. That takes us into, well, let's start with carry real quick. A lot of people complain about this clip. They say it's really tight. And I, again, have had 4 of these in my hands. You know what I mean? I don't know if I put the one I sold to Brent in my pocket, but the other 3 I put in pocket. There's 2 things that people complain about or I complain about. One, it is a little pokey up here. This is pokey. But you never feel that. The only time you feel that is when you're doing this to test the clip. In pocket, in hand, you never feel that point. That's never like digging into your hand or anything. Even left-handed, like, I thought that was going to be a concern, like a finger would land there, but for me, I don't land a finger right in this point area. It's just literally lands perfectly. So that's not really a concern. The tension people complain about. Now, I want to point out that I carry right-handed knives like this in my back left pocket. So I think I've found out that the back pockets, the seams are a little bit thinner maybe, because I've had no issue with these going in pocket. Like, yeah, I have to, put it in pocket and give it a little push to get in. It doesn't just like pop in like, like a wire clip does. That's why a wire clip's so good. It just functions so well. It doesn't look the best, but it functions very well. But I've had no issue with it. It stays in pocket, doesn't move around. So to me, the clip is perfect. I do kind of not like the hand satin on it. I get why they did it, to match the blade and the hardware. But it's just so easy to scratch. You can see on this one, I've got a good scratch right there. On this one, I've got a good one right there. You're just going to get scratches like that on these clips. They're banging into shit, like, you know what I mean? It's just how it is. But I still like how they look. So, to me, the carry's great, guys. The weight on these, perfect. This is a 3.5-inch knife. It feels, looks, and it carries nothing like a 3.5-inch knife. You know what I mean? Like, this Evo is 3.5 inches. This Liangma Cuff version 2 is 3.5 inches. This Vero, nope, sorry, wrong one. Where is that thing? This Vero Axon, 3.5 inches, right? And then you have the Mini Tempest, 3.5 inches. And I swear, it's a 3.25 knife. Like, it just doesn't feel like a 3.5-inch knife. It just feels smaller in a good way. You know what I mean? And it carries that way too. It just seems like they were able to pack so much into this handle. I don't know. Let's compare the handle lengths. Look at that. Look at how much extra handle that Vero has. That's crazy. Here's a Leon Ma. He's, I think, pretty good at that, so shouldn't be. Even that, you have a bit more handle down there. Here's the Evo. Again, a good bit more handle. Obviously, the other Mini Tempest is going to be the same. But that shows you right there, right? They were able to pack a shit ton of knife into that handle, and that's what makes it feel more like a 3.25. This is 3.3 inches on the blade. Look at that. Same handle length. But you get just a little more blade. That's just so cool. And again, I don't think this is like bad in terms of blade to handle ratio. I think it's really good. But you have that area up here, see that? Where I have the choil built in. You don't have that type of thing on this knife. You have that front flipper up there. So, and the pivot is much closer to the top of the scale than this. And all of that just equates to much better blade to handle ratio. So that's really cool. Yeah, it carries like a dream. The weight, excellent. I don't think there's actually any milling in there. Nope. But obviously there was weight relieved to get the inlays in. So there's that. But it feels very, very light for the size. You know what? It just feels appropriate. It feels great, you know? The cutting, guys, I actually have cut with these a little bit. Now, it wasn't these, you know, I don't know how much I cut with each one, and I had that other black and gold one for a little bit I used. But, you know, you're obviously going to have issues with the blade because it's a hand satin. You know, a lot of people aren't going to want to do certain things with it because you're going to scratch it easy. That's just the nature of it. Just like that clip, you know, you can see all the scratches on there. Same thing on the blade. But in terms of how it cuts, it does a good job. You know, it has a good factory edge. It's M390. But, you know, all I did was open, you know, a couple packages. I've tried to cut a few labels. I will say this is about as far as I'll go with the tip. You guys all know I love a low down tip. Again, designed it for that. So you can cut paper, cut, whatever. Just having a low tip is so much better than having a tip like this where you got to go like this. And I did cut some shipping labels with these, and it was a struggle. Like, I was cutting, I would end up swerving off, and it's just so much easier to get a straight cut when that tip is boom right there. Zip. So obviously that's to each their own situation. Lots of people love drop points. You know what I mean? It's probably the most popular blade shape. So it's not like it's a negative to everybody. To me, it's fine. I'm okay with a drop point. But I'm not, once we start going higher, like clip point, Bowie, it just doesn't work for me. And even this wasn't the best. But everything else, I think it does really well. But I didn't abuse this. I didn't cut a bunch of cardboard, So if you want, like, heavy use case information on this, I don't know who you should talk to. Normally, I'd say, check with Jared Neve, check with Stasa, but, are they going to hard use their mini Tempests? I don't think so, because it's just a knife you don't want to abuse like that. You want to keep it in good condition because it's got the hand satin, you know what I mean? So you got to just take what I say with a grain of salt. But it's a drop point blade with a great edge, good flat grind, all that stuff. So, it's going to perform just like most knives with that situation. So there you go. Sounds are extraordinary. You will get some of the coolest cracks and clacks coming out of these knives. It's just really cool. Really love it. Hope that comes through. On the close, it can be just as good. Oh, and if you reverse flick it, you can get more of like a click. You know what I mean? You can hear the pop pop, kind of like a haptic. And then when you do the front flipper, you get the big thundering deployment. I will say, when the Detent sucks the blade in, it can be a little bit rattly sometimes. Like, it sounds a little bit rattly. That's just a personal thing that bugs me sometimes. And even the stout here does it. This one in particular that I kept. It's not, I don't think most people would give a shit, but that kind of stuff is something that I'll nitpick. So sounds are excellent, guys. Definitely a 7, 8 out of 10. Close to a 9, probably. So really enjoy the sounds. The action is just incredible. Now that I have two that are just like perfectly dialed in, it's so good. That front flipper has one of the best just deployments on it. It bites into your finger, that jimping. So good. And you have enough of that tab up there. Just works so well. I don't think I've ever missed this tab once. You can do the roll stuff. I try not to do it left-handed because I end up cutting myself. But you can do the rolls and everything. And, of course, you have a reverse flick. Now, if you get the Bowie, you will not be able to reverse flick it as well. There are some people who can. They have more slender fingers, I guess. And you kind of have to get it like down at the bottom here when you do the Bowie. And you can flick it. The drop point's more forgiving. You can flick it from different locations. You saw me throughout this review miss it a couple of times. It will happen. But the best way I can put it is with the drop point, it's like a 9 out of 10 times I get it. And with the Bowie, it was like 5. And I had to concentrate more. Like, yeah, if I focused every time, I could get it with the Bowie 10 out of 10. But, like, just pick your knife up, go to flick it, 5 out of 10. Know what I mean? So, and then you have the drop shut. On this one, it's a little more of a shake. Very, very smooth. Almost drop shut. This one is a gliding shut. Once it gets going, it's going to go down. This one requires a little bit more encouragement, but not much. You know what I mean? So they're both excellent. It's just a fantastic knife, guys, and that's why I've had a few. That's why I plan on keeping, you know, at this point, I'm keeping both, and I plan on keeping both. Will that last forever, guys? I don't know. You know me. Things will change in a heartbeat, depending on if I need cash for something, or if something else catches my eye, or if they sit around for, you know, a month and I haven't been carrying them. I might move one, and then I'll be like, oh my God, I gotta sell the other one, and who knows, you know? Maybe I'll buy more. It's just, you know, you never know. So I love the knife. It's an absolute home run. I can't wait to get the Apex that's coming out. I did pre-order one of those. I did not pre-order one of these. I got them on the drops. So I'm glad I got in on that pre-order for the Apex. Can't wait. Brian Nadeau is a freaking beast, guys. His detent system is just something that I love. I really have thought about hitting him up and seeing if he licenses it, or how is it a patent? I don't know how it works. And maybe trying to implement it, if we can, into one of our knives at Debo, just to give it a shot, because I love the concept of the nub. I love the concept of having a consistent, clean break on your detent. I will say, over the years, I've had a couple that have had, you know, some issues, but I feel like that's any knife. You know what I mean? They're not going to be perfect if you get production knives. So they're really, really good, and it's a pleasure to use these knives. So I think I'm going to shut up now. I'm looking at that screw. That's interesting. Oh, there. Okay, never mind. All right. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the mini Tempests from Sharp by Design. Killed it, Brian. Yeah, it's just a gem. It really is. Steal that one from Nick Shabazz there for you. It's absolutely just fantastic. So I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Let me know in the comments what you think of the mini Tempest. Do you think it's an absolutely just sexy ass knife? Man, I just want to collect them all. I really, really do. Love this thing. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you later.